It's live. It says.
You can put stuff up.
What's that?
Oh, it's just.
Done 3 days in a row. My only in person.
I think go like what the fuck?
I don't know.
I went to Miami just one day, and that was really that was closed.
It's 0 viewers. It says. Not even Patrick. Oh, there you go.
27 degrees, not including lunch. Just snow. They closed Miami was one day.
All right, so we're seeing him now. How do you share? How's he share his system?
Can you share?
What's the little thing that? What's the little gear down on the lower right?
Yeah.
It's like why is a company like wants to be their ad like someone not being able to say their name right?
Thanks. I put the price of block so that
I can share my screen,
How do you share your screen?
but then that kind of defeats what I was trying to do. Because I want to show the video and this, and that's what I was doing. I did it at one of our others and clicked back and forth.
Maybe he can. Can you? Do you have a URL? Why don't you let him share your file, your your presentation? Just send him that link. How do you copy the? If you send him your link, he can share those to you. Share those on the Hangout, and then you can.
And I can click back and forth.
He'll have to like click as you click.
This is a disaster.
Yeah, actually, I grew up in Oxford.
Go away. Yo. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
How do you share your screen? Your tab?
Oh, I'm going to show you.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
It takes you 45 minutes to get to the interstate.
Go away.
Not to be secluded, but yeah, I mean, the landscape has no us to get down. Yeah.
Everyone ready? So welcome tonight. This is the best turnout we've had in probably a year. So thank you all for coming. There's a bunch of new faces I haven't seen before. Let's go around and introduce ourselves really quick. So I'm Patrick Hammond. I'm obviously presenting tonight. I also help run the local user group with Bill. I've been doing Android development for about 5 years. Mostly now on it.
I'm Steve Gunner. I'm an Android developer at Gradle. I'm back.
Brandon Jones, work at PCMS UC and Northwestern University.
I've been forced to make web apps work in Cordova, with Cordova, so that's my move. I'm James
I'm John Bentley. I'm a web application developer, but I'm currently going through the Coursera certification program in Android.
I am Carlos Olson. On Monday, I was I'm Nicholas Williams. I'm the web app developer for Rev1. You may not know about that company.
I'm not at work, I own Rev1. I do Android and iOS. That's why I don't do anything but
Constant Yang. I'm retired and I just came into the code.
Dan Kinesick, I made games at Star Software with Alex. Started off in iOS and recently got into Android.
What he said, but I'm Alex.
I'm Michael Clark, Android developer at Kroger.
Sam Quarter, Android developer, sort of, iOS developer, mostly.
You know both ways.
You would know.
I'm Aaron Froth. I'm an Android developer at Kroger.
I'm Greg Williams, Android developer, currently assigned to Kroger.
Bill Mudd, an Android developer, independent consultant.
I'm Andy Williams. I do some work under Lion Robot.
First, thanks to Pinnacle for giving us the space tonight. Always hard to find a place to come these things. We've got quite a few things lined up in the next few months. Next month is Draft Kit, which is a wearable analytics and more product out of some guys that are in Cincinnati developing it.
Cross-platform framework.
April, you're talking about geofences and the Google location APIs. And then
May is Google TV, Android TV.
yeah, I think Greg signed up for Android TV in May. June is usually like a Google I/O roundup. So for the next 4 or 5 months, we've got some pretty interesting stuff lined up. Before we get started, because I've got 48 slides.
1 million slides.
Yes, 1 million slides. Who here knows what Gradle is? Okay, keep your hands up. Who here has played with Gradle? Who here is using Gradle in a production app? Okay, perfect. I got something for everyone. I've got all this content published out on GitHub, the presentation and some sample code. Just github.com/PatrickYound, and then you'll see the most recent activity. The sample code in there is sample code. You'll probably want to polish it up to meet your needs, but it's mostly good. Who am I? I've been doing Android development for 5 years. Most of it decent development, except for the stuff on the Kroger app, which Eric was taking care of. About 2 years ago, I left to start my own mobile consulting company, and I'm doing the Android lead there. I like food. I like beer. So what is Gradle? From the documentation, it's a advanced build toolkit that manages dependencies and allows you to define custom build logic, which is a very boring way of saying it takes care of all the details of managing your product or project. And on Android, there's a lot of details that happen behind the scenes, and this makes a lot of that stuff go away. A little bit of history about it. So Jason Vogel, he's a local guy, actually started an Android Gradle plugin and ran that all the way up until 2013. So that's kind of fun. In 2013, early 2013, Google started work on their Android Gradle plugin with the explicit intent to replace Ant and Eclipse as the primary Android build tools. It was a rocky road over the next 2 years, but in December, we finally got version 1.0 of all the tooling. So life should be better.
Is there a reason for the name Gradle?
I have absolutely no idea. It's been around for a while. It's the product name. Why should you care? If you are using Ant and Eclipse right now, your life in the future is going to get progressively worse. This quote came straight out of the Android documentation. there's a new way when you're getting wearable apps that you need to package the application to go with your main applications. In Gradle, it's a one-line command to make it happen. This link, we open up in a new tab. You package it manually. If you're using another IDE, Eclipse, or another method of building, and you get to go through all of these 6 fun manual steps that looks like it sucks. This is where it starts. Google has, at least in 2013, said that they're going to continue to support Ant and Eclipse, but they're not going to continue development on it, which means that as new features come out or new capabilities, you're going to run into things like this, this type of pain. So instead of exposing to new Ant tasks that make it easy to deal with wearable applications, you get this. So if you keep using Ant and Eclipse, you're going to have a very bad time. So Gradle and Android Studio are the official Google supported products moving forward. Again, they reached 1.0 in December, so no longer in beta. If you didn't want to use this, you could still use Maven. The Eclipse integration is painful. It lags behind Android tooling support, so you occasionally end up in awkward situations where you need to use some capability to fix some bug, but yeah, it's just a pain. So moving forward saves you a lot of time. Their goals with the new build system, and again, this is straight from their documentation, they want to make it easy to reuse code and resources. They took a look at how people were building applications and what they were trying to do, and kind of identified some common problems and gave some pretty nice solutions to that. They want to make it easy to support big apps, small apps, different flavors of applications. When they originally announced the Gradle plugin and some of the goals, I was incredibly stoked because the project I was working on at the time was also asking me right around the same time to create 17 versions of that application. It's like, hey, this will solve all my problems. It took a little bit of time to get to a point where that was stable, but we'll make it easy to configure and extend and customize the build process, make it yours, and they want good IDE integration. The Eclipse Gradle support is evolving. I think it'll eventually get there, but it's not right now. So you can use IntelliJ, basically. If you raise your hand if you've done anything with Gradle before 1.0 with Android. Raise your hand up high. Okay, keep your hand up if you also made this face at some point when you got a version update.
I went back to Eclipse.
Yep.
Twice.
Yep. More than twice.
I'm still trying to get there.
Following it over 2 years. So with every plugin or version update that they would put out, something would break. And always in some cryptic way that wasn't documented. You end up in some change log in the main Android repo, and you're just hate life, and you end up doing this. And it's always at a very bad time. The good news is that with it being out of beta, breaking changes should be rare. They've even called it out on the website that with 1.0, compatibility is a critical requirement, and there's all kinds of things all over Google Plus with the Android engineers that are responsible for the tooling, calling out that, hey, this problem shouldn't be a problem moving forward. And over the last 2.5 months, that's actually been true. I have not seen a breaking change. To get started, you obviously need to have all the usual tools, Java, Android. You should recommend you use Android Studio. IntelliJ probably works, but I just haven't tested it. Eclipse and Gradle don't play together well right now. I put a date on that. I expect that to change at some point in the future. But again, Google's not going to spend their time developing tooling around it, but it's going to be all Android Studio moving forward. When you create a Gradle project for the first time, this is what it gives you. holy crap, that's a lot of files. Okay, again, if you've played Gradle before, when you built your first project and you saw all this crap, what did you think?
Hectic clips.
Yep. All of this is really not as terrifying as it looks. So let's walk through it. So it's a different kind of organization, and I'm going to try to give some really rough and incorrect analogies, but are hopefully helps create like a mental model. So this top level thing, everything lives inside of one directory. You can think of this kind of like an Eclipse workspace. It's not, but just mental model wise. Your application project lives inside of its own module. You can think of a module as an Eclipse project. All of your code goes inside a source directory, and then they've got this thing called variants. So all of the main line of your code goes in here. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. The reason they go down this approach is they want to make it easy to support multi-project configurations, library projects, Java modules, where applications, all of these things require multi-project configurations. So structuring it like this from the get-go saves you a little bit of pain. The modules follow the standard directory layout established in Maven a decade plus ago. It actually works out pretty well, some of the stuff that you're doing, the integration tests and the unit tests and the build variants and build flavors. It plays out pretty well. And again, we'll talk about the main variant later and what that is. But the code that you're used to seeing, just you can think of it as shifting it right inside that main directory. Your Java code in Eclipse, I think that used to be called source. Now it's called Java. Your resource files go in there. Your manifest goes in there. If you're using ProGrad, you put that file in a different place. Again, this is all convention, not required, but we'll get to that in a second. If you had a unit testing for a testing project, I'll be careful how I say that, a testing project in Eclipse, you had its own project and its own manifest and stuff like that. That actually gets a lot simpler. Your test code lives in parallel with your main code, but in a different source set. And the plugin, Gradle plugin for Android, just takes care of all the details of making that happen. These three files is what we'll spend most of our time talking about tonight. Starting in the middle, this is your project configuration. This is your application or module configuration. And this wires everything all together. We'll take a look at these in just a second. These 5 bad boys you will almost never change. They're the Gradle wrapper. They are a good thing. They will make team conventions easier if you need to change the version that of Gradle, the Gradle executable that things are using, and occasionally you need to update that for the latest plugin versions. You'll update that guy. You'll almost always execute this guy whenever you're running a Gradle task. They're just shell scripts and a jar file. And it knows how to pull down a Gradle runtime. And this guy you'll almost never touch. He just lets you configure Gradle runtime stuff. So if you've got a big project and need to have a bigger JVM heap, for some reason, you'd set it in here. There's some other properties you can set it into. So that's in a really quick flow, everything that they give you. So again, this is pretty much what you cared about before, and then all the rest of the stuff goes around it.
Gradle is not self-contained manufacturing. So if you have installed your machine, it doesn't matter.
It will not. If you're using the Gradle wrapper and you don't have, if you're using the Gradle wrapper, it will pull down a Gradle distribution that it will use under the hood for you and like cache it off. So you don't have to have Gradle version 2.2.1 installed on your path. This will take care of pulling it down. So if you also update the Android plugin version from 1.0 to 1.1, and they say, okay, now you have to use this version of Gradle, and then you commit it and push up your CI server. Your CI server will know how to pull that down too.
So it is self-contained in that I've never installed Gradle on my machine.
The scripts take care of putting it all on there for you. let's take a look at those 3 files. The big part, one of the more interesting parts of them, and then we'll look just really quickly at what it takes to add in the support library and Google Play services. Probably 2 of the most common things that you'll do. So here is our project. So let's start here. Gradle. Ignore this part, we'll talk about that later. It'll generate all of this stuff for you out of the box. This defines the Android Gradle plugin that you use, setting up which repositories to pull libraries from. Usually won't touch this project or this file too much. The interesting stuff for your applications will live in your app directory. Similar kind of thing, you'll have a build script, which is where you'll get Gradle plugins that need to for like compile tasks. You will apply the Android Gradle plugin, which basically loads that into the class or the runtime for processing. A bunch of configuration options, and we'll go through some of these in a little bit. Lots of options depending on what you're wanting to do. Out of the box, they skip a lot of this stuff. I added this in sample code. Declare your dependencies, and that's pretty much it. I want to wire them together. It's that. If you have multiple modules, it's a comma separated list. So if you had a where application, you just do that.
Keep up that good as that code.
Which one?
Okay. So the repositories in your build script and the repositories under all projects is different.
That's a great question.
So the repositories under the build script is where it knows where to go find code that Gradle will execute to satisfy a build. The things under here and also under
Up.
I don't have one in here. I would normally have one in here too. That you would see one of these under the, basically right there. Tell it where it can find binaries to compile into your application. I don't know why it separates them and why you have to declare it twice. But
So why do you have it in the other one then, at the top? You've got a build script one in there.
I have the build script one in here because when I set up the all projects and repositories here, that works for modules. It doesn't apply it for build scripts for submodules. So there's probably a shortcut way of defining it. I just don't know what it is. So you have to duplicate it twice.
So you have JSON in there 3 times.
Yep.
That's the stuff that will drive you batty. And if you don't have it right, it won't work.
Yep.
Yes.
You have another question?
I said you could probably put that in your Gradle.properties file and define it as a variable.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd said it once and don't think about it again.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have 2 repositories, one for the tooling, one for the binaries that get compiled into your application. That answers your question.
Yeah. I just ended up putting it in all 3 whenever I have to go to different repos.
Yeah, I don't know if you could take the build script repositories JSON are here and put it inside of here and make it all work. Not sure, but yeah, set it once, forget it. What else we're going to do? Oh, apply services library. So if we go to our application project, you will see a dependencies lock down here. This basically says that it wants jar files, Android library files, test assets, and where to go find those things. And it knows that if you say, I want the support library, version 21.0.3, it knows how to go and resolve that somewhere, whether it be the Android repository that gets shipped with it, going out to Maven, or I guess JCenter, which is a Maven repository. So if you had to add the support library to a Eclipse project, what would you have to do? Right-click on the project, go down to some Android option, say add support library, and it drops a jar file on your libs directory, and then it never gets updated ever again.
Yeah, what was the one that was worse than that? There was one that was you had to actually go get it out of one of the source folders, app compat, and include it as a library project.
Yeah, and
That's my most popular YouTube video, how to do that.
yeah. Same thing with Google Play Services. You would have to go and browse for the source and open up as a project in your Eclipse workspace, set up some build path stuff, cross your fingers and hit compile and hope it works. Let me show you what I have to do right now.
Say it out loud. One line of code.
One line of code. You'll notice I have nothing open over here for Google Play Services. It's just a library. It knows how to pull it in. It knows how to build against it. One line of code. Gradle can make your life easier.
The other thing is, if you guys are working on a team, the real beauty of this is you check this into source control, and when Sam pulls it down, it gets all the dependencies based on what's in that Gradle file. And his project, after it syncs Gradle and is done in 2 minutes, he can hit run and it runs. There's no other configuration. And so in terms of team management of these projects, it is absolutely amazing.
You can take an existing application and open it up in like 3 clicks and be done, versus opening up an application, figuring out what things worth building, and then going and opening up 20 different library projects. Yeah. Any questions so far? No, that basically, that's saying that there's another Gradle project that it needs to be aware of, or another Gradle module that it needs to be aware of. So your where micro APK would be another module that it needs to be aware of on the larger thing. So, yep, easy stuff to add in libraries. If you are using Eclipse right now and you're wanting to migrate over, or you've got it in your roadmap, you don't have to move everything around to follow the kind of new convention of where you put things, the standard directory layout. You can keep a similar directory structure. You're going to spend more time figuring out how to reconfigure where the source sets are for the different modules. When someone else comes into the team and you've got build variants and stuff like that, and you've got them all wired up all goofy, they're gonna spend half a day figuring out how things are working. Just bite the bullet, make the migration once. Life will be easy. I didn't have room on the slide. There should have been like a kitten meme. Every time you don't migrate a project to the new convention, God kills a kitten.
Just break up with her.
Yeah, just get on board with the new direction. Life will be easier.
He's getting moved. He's getting moved.
Yep. So yes.
Foreshadow.
So if you are migrating over, they do have tools that will do all this for you. But if you're using version control and want to keep the history of your files, don't use the tools. It will clobber everything, and you will hate life, and you'll lose all your history. I'm hoping that they fix it, so I put a date on there so that in the future, hopefully that changes. Use your favorite command line tools, version control tools, whatever it is, and just do it at the file level. For a normal, small Android or Eclipse application, it's 12 or 13 commands to move everything in the right place. Figure out where things are at right now, figure out where they should be, draw the lines, make a mapping. It's all pretty straightforward.
Another thing that might help is actually going and doing the migration, seeing how everything ends up, and then
where it lays everything out.
resetting your changes and do it yourself afterwards to maintain version control.
That's a good idea.
Or even a second repository.
Yeah.
And you can put back and forth.
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that also plays into this one. You know, there's a bunch of other Gradle files with the wrapper stuff that you don't want to have to go and build.
Yeah.
They'll put those all in the right places, so you can copy them back over. Is it a lame way of doing a migration? Yes, but if version control is important to you, that's what you have right now. If you're not using version control, you've got bigger issues, but it'll make your migration easy. I'm guessing that if you're doing the migration, you're also going to migrate over to Android Studio. I'm not going to spend much time talking about this. They're both different. They're very different beasts in the way they accomplish things. I mean, you still type code in it, you still hit run. This thing, where's the sync project with Gradle files menu option? Anytime you change something in Gradle, go through and hit that button. That'll basically rebuild all of your IntelliJ or Android Studio project configuration stuff based on what's in here. Pull in all the, if you added and then new things here, it'll pull those in. Yeah, learning where that button is important.
Doesn't it pop up a tooltip though every time you change it also with sync now?
We'll sync now.
Most of the time. I've caught it off guard a few times. That's just me being me. Go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing is that you have to do that if somebody else on your team updates the Gradle plugin.
Yep.
And you pull down, you have to
Yep.
resync.
So yeah, learning where that button is. You no longer have to manage libraries, jar files, with the exception of some third-party libraries that don't know how to publish their stuff to repositories. No longer need to have 30 different library projects open to build their app. All the keyboard shortcuts are different from even IntelliJ. So if you're using Eclipse plus IntelliJ plus Android Studio, you're going to look like you're getting janks on your computer all the time trying to figure out what to put your fingers. And my pet peeve is there's no incremental compilation. So the errors you can see in Eclipse. So anytime you do refactoring and here's everything that broke. Oh crap, I broke 1,000 things. Yeah, you don't get that. You always have to recompile the application and it'll show you where things broke. Again, lots of differences. So the syntax of the Gradle files is obviously not XML. There's obviously a syntax to it. They have a domain-specific language for it. It is Groovy. And so every Gradle file is also a Groovy build script. And if you're not familiar with Groovy, it's a JVM language. So think Java with a bunch of fun stuff. Being familiar a little bit with Groovy will help. Kind of the best way to get to really figure out what goes where and what you do is by looking at what other people have done in their files. I've got a list of some interesting ones at the end of the presentation on the next to the last slide. So reading other people's code. The documentation is much, much better than it was even 4 or 5 months ago. And it's getting better all the time. The code assistant side of the tooling sucks. It's slow, incomplete, getting better. So how do you know what to write? First, if you need to figure out what type of, or what, let's say you're using what's a library, Bill?
Throw play services. That'll show up.
How about
You had butter knife in there, didn't
if you want to figure out how to add in
Good one.
Jackson?
That's not it.
Don't forget the map.
Yep. It will tell you, here's the line that you need to add into your Gradle file. It will build that up for you from the latest version that it knows about and everything. The website is gradleplease.appspot.com. This will save you lots and lots of time in terms of figuring out kind of what that line should be. If you're wanting to pull in auto, it's a square library. You basically copy this guy, go to your project, and drop it in as a dependency right here. It'll say that your Gradle file has changed and sync now, and then it will do all the rest of pulling down the jar file and putting it in the right places and making sure the application can build with it. Yep, all done. So that's a really nice tool for knowing what to include.
When he says done, he means done, done. You can go back to the code and start typing, new bus, and it will be there.
Yep. Should have been these two slides are out of order. To figure out what the configuration options are, and there are a metric shit ton of them, and they're getting more. Go to the developer site, download the plugin language reference, unzip it, and it will look exactly like Java docs. So all the different things you can do on the side. So if you wanted to see what you could do inside of a default configuration, you can set a application ID. So if you want to override the package name that lives inside of your manifest, set a custom version code, like if you've got a type of continuous integration server, you know, having that automatically generated. You have a signing configuration to use, which will point to a different object with all the different properties on there. You'll start to kind of see how you wire the different things up with the syntax in there. So just kind of browsing this to see what's out there. Probably a good idea. If you want a small speed boost with some experimental features, you can take these three guys, which configure how Gradle builds things, and put them in the Gradle properties file down here. The thing I said you would never touch. On a big project that I'm working on, that I got a 20% gain on follow-up builds locally. You're not going to see that necessarily in Android Studio because it's got most of it built into it by default. So it's worth trying to see if it works for you.
That with one caveat on the daemon, I'm working currently on an SDK, so I build that from the command line, and then my tester app is a separate project, and I run all my unit tests from, and I build that from Android Studio, running the daemon and the command line, and then flipping around in Android Studio and trying to build. They get cranky with each other, and you then have to kill it. So I've actually pulled the daemon off. The benefits weren't great enough to warrant all the other headache I got.
That's a good point. So if you are messing around in Android Studio, where they run the Gradle daemon for you in the background, where you're going to get most of your speed benefits or speed boosts, and they're doing stuff on the command line, you're going to run into some awkwardness.
And it shows up as I mean, it took me an hour to find it because it shows up as I can no longer find Java. Like, what do you mean you can't find Java? No, it was just that there was a daemon in the background that had everything tied up. So.
Any questions so far? Okay. So some of the more interesting things that you can do. So they have introduced the concept of build flavors. The problem that they're wanting to solve is, let's say you have a paid version of your app and a light version of your app, or a version that goes to Google Play and a version that goes to the Amazon App Store. They're going to have different runtime dependencies probably. You don't want to package the Amazon stuff with the Google Play stuff and vice versa. You don't want to put your expensive paid code in your light version of your app. So you can create in parallel or as a peer to the main things, different folders. So this will create a paid variant and a light variant. You can pull in Java code, resource files, even different manifests. You know, if it's that little snippets of manifests that only need to be in one versus the other, it'll pull those in too. Like your paid application probably doesn't need the in-app billing permission, but your light application might. And what that ends up looking like, got something set up here. So this is our main code, you know, Java, resources, manifest. I've also got a light folder and a paid folder with a similar type of structure underneath it. I've got 2 resource files in each one of them. In my light application, or light folder, the string says, you should totally buy the full version of our application. And the paid version says, thank you for buying the full version of our app. And I'm referencing these guys from right in here. So just as a regular string reference, it'll know how to figure out where the different things are and what they need to, how they need to be merged together to make some magic happen. When you're inside of Android Studio messing with all this stuff, you're going to, over on the side, and it took me forever to find this, there's a build variants tab. And underneath that, under every module, you get to pick which variant you want. So I've got, everything comes with a debug and release configuration. We'll talk about that in a second. Then it also knows that there's a light and paid versions. If I want to run the light version of my application, it says you should totally buy the full version of our app. If I switch this over to the paid debug, it'll go through, spend a few seconds doing a build, because now it'll go through and make sure it knows how to resolve everything and compile everything. Let's run it. You're buying full version of our application. What this also did behind the scenes is it will generate 2 different APKs for you. So when we look down here in our application launcher, we've got Light and we've got Pro. So when they're talking about how you share code between different applications, this is one of the ways that they're doing it. You can have a job where you can have specific Java code for each flavor, specific manifest entries for each flavor, specific resources. It'll all figure it out. It'll get cranky and tell you if you did something wrong. Any questions on that one?
So your manifest for those 2 keep changing up the ID.
Yep. So if we, that's a good point. So take a look at the configuration files for those. So you have to tell the Android plugin about the different flavors that it should be aware of. And you can override the application ID that is associated with your app like this. So if I take a look at the manifest here, it probably says my company and my app. And when it generates the R file, it will be under that package name. But when it generates your APK, it'll use this package name.
So all those fields that are defined up there, they override with everything in
Yes.
Yes.
So your manifest is basically just a dumb XML document now.
Nice.
Oh yeah, it is. So if you've got different flavors of your application, you can also have different behaviors if you have debug or production code. In your debug application, you probably don't want to turn on a crash reporter, and in your production, or in your production application, you want to turn on a crash reporter, and in your debug application, you want to enable like strict checks or strict mode, add in a bunch of other fancy instrumentation stuff. Let's take a look and see what that might look like. So same type of things before. We're still in this source directory. We've got a release folder and a debug folder. In my debug folder, I've got a code snippet from Jake Wharton that will unlock your phone for you when you're trying to build your application. In my release, I've got code that will basically turn on a crash reporter. The entry point to the code needs to look the same, but the actual, what gets compiled will be different. So if we go to main, main activity, whenever this activity starts, it's going to call startup helper on startup, and will, depending on how it was built with what build configuration, will either execute this or this. Let me try something. That's not gonna work. If I set this to, say, paid release, when I launch this application, it should show us a toast message that says turning on the crash reporter. We'll give that a shot and see if it works.
My fingers are crossed for you. My fingers are crossed for you.
Me too.
Don't do it.
Wake up.
If your emulator went and crashed itself, it's 7:32 and it still says 7:31.
It's been acting funky lately.
Everyone says.
Yeah, my emulator switched itself. We'll come back to that in a little bit when it all fires back up again. The code works. You can test it out. It's all on GitHub. If you want to really start doing some interesting stuff, you can create your own constant at build time. So if you want to report when the application was last compiled, you would basically add in this piece of code, which will then generate that for you at compile time. So that way you can basically do that. You say, here's when the application ran. Let's fire this up again. Let's see.
So the other cool thing is you could actually have your CI server insert the build number when it built.
Yep. You could put whatever you want in here. When this starts up, it should say that the application was built around 7:33.
Did you see that? You can no longer have an emulator that's on anything older than 5.0. They automatically upgrade when you launch them. If you create a 2.3 emulator, it upgrades itself automatically. Yeah, it's a bug.
So yeah, build time 7:32. Anytime I compile the application, that value will get updated. What it gets generated as is, so build config is something that Android will give you, and then you can put in your own values. So let's say 1932. Let's go build main module. This guy should get updated to 1934. So auto-generating code out of your build.
Is that more reliable than it was in the Eclipse?
Oh hell yes.
I know it would seem like it would just be random values.
On Eclipse,
Build and stuff in Eclipse.
I don't remember being able to set those in Eclipse.
Like the debug one was there.
Oh yeah, yeah. The debuggable thing, they've got that solid now. If you are using Git and want to include what the latest commit identifier is in your application, you can drop down to the command line and do all kinds of fun stuff there. So I can take that command, let's go over here. I can run that Git command and it will tell me, it should be 207.08.00. We go over to the app, 207.08.00. This has saved me tons of time going back and forth with our users, especially the internal users. I can be like, what is this value? Because then I know what code was the application was built off of. Yeah.
You also put your build servers revision number in there too.
I do. Yeah. Revision number, build time, git SHA. Yeah, I do. I don't joke around.
Current weather.
Where the moon is at in the celestial alignment. If your application is starting to get fat, there are some things you can put in here and let the tooling strip out some of that stuff for you. If you know that you only care about the English language, put this guy in here. It will strip out all of the French language stuff. Sorry, Steve.
Good reason.
Yeah. If you have any resources that are not ODPI, HDPI, let's say, as an example, this will strip out all of the LDPI resources and MDPI resources from being packaged inside your app. So if you're pulling in library projects that have those in them, this will kill that. So small way to make your code smaller, or your application smaller. ProGuard will shrink things a little bit. It comes with it being its own pain in the butt. This guy is freaking awesome. If you've got unused resources in your application, things that it just isn't going to care about, let's say you've got 40 drawables that are no longer used, that are just wasted or being packaged in the APK wastefully, this will take care of that. It'll strip them out at build time.
Is there a way to run a report against it so you can just get them out of the project?
Yes, whenever you run this from the command line, it'll list out everything that is stripping out and give you the total amount saved. The first time I ran it, I was saving like 30% of my project, and like had all this extra crap. I'm like, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this. There used to be a tool you could run that would generate all that stuff, and you have to run it like 10 different times because it was never perfect. This does a really good job. It does it automatically. So don't turn it on and then never look at it again. Look at the logs and clean up the crap in your code. But this is nice to have and turn on. These are some things that I found that make working with this stuff a little bit easier. They make it pretty easy to list out a bunch of different ProGuard files that your application should pull in. If you're pulling in lots of library, ProGuard is a tool that will obfuscate your code and cause you lots of grief if you're not careful. It does good stuff, but most of the documentation out there says, oh yeah, just put the library definitions in ProGuard rules.pro, which is your project specific configuration. And when you'll end up with is a ProGuard rules file that is 500 lines long, and you have no idea where certain things are coming from or why. Split things out into their own files. So for Google Play Services, let's take a look at it.
It's a good one.
No. Here's all the things that Google Play Services needs. Keep them in its own file, and then just include it as another element in there versus having something that looks like this is a pain in the ass to maintain. Don't do this. Break them up. There's a great Maven repository out there that has a list of what all these files should be. If you need to pull in Crashlytics, here's what you need. If you need to pull in Butterknife, here's what you need. If you want to pull in Google Analytics, what you need. If you want to pull in Auto, here's what you need. A lot of these websites don't always do a great job of documenting what you need or making it easy to find. Just go out here, look for it first, and then just copy and paste it into the project. There's nothing dynamic about it. You still have to manage that, but it at least makes that part of your life easier.
You've been holding out on me. Oh my gosh, I need to give that guy money.
If you find stuff, fork his repository, submit a pull request, add it to the list of.
Need a way to log the path when you started reading all those files that are in there.
I've thought about creating like a little shell script that basically says, here's all the files I want you to pull in, and then doing curl requests to pull out all the files, write them off into the folder.
Include doesn't support a wildcard. Include doesn't support or import.
Yeah, or just, download that directory or something, and then that way I just periodically run that or run it with every build to ensure I'm always running the latest, the greatest.
Just thinking of the Gradle plugin. You don't want to early.
I think that someone started doing that, but I don't know how far they got. If you're not using Lint, you should be. It's a tool that will tell you how you're screwing up your Android application and what things you're doing wrong. Once or twice a month, I'll get a build that'll fail because I did something stupid, and this will tell me about it pretty quickly. You can configure that really quick through Gradle, and it's one line to see what your code looks like or how bad your code is. Let's not run on that project. That's going to be embarrassing. We'll go back up a second. If you notice all the Gradle commands I'm running, use that, the Gradle wrapper. Don't ever call Gradle directory. Well, you could, but don't. Just use this.
Do you know why?
It'll make sure that the right Gradle runtime is being used. So if you look at the code or the command or the output, it'll tell you where to put its files. So open that guy up. Hey, nothing bad. If I wanted to do something I knew it wouldn't work, let's go to but some things you want to ignore, some things you want to take care of. But easy to add into your project. There's a bunch of other tools. PMD is another one that will find a different set of issues. CPD, copy paste detector, will find all the code that you copied and pasted and complain about that. Check style will make sure that all the code in your application follows some convention.
Check style is pretty hardcore in this report. You get one.
Check style is a pain to configure too. Once you get there, it's good, but
Went through some of those yesterday on a large app, 15,000 check style complaints, something like that.
yep. What was the other one you were talking about when you came in? There's another plugin that will say your code hacked it.
That's through the Sonar.
Okay.
Dashboard.
Okay.
That's built into the Sonar.
Okay.
Plus there's your Coco.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to include that in here. As you are building your application, it's easy to add in a dependency and forget about it. You need to update it when new versions come out. If you add this to your build file, basically that guy and that guy, and we'll take a look over here. That guy and that guy. What it can do is it'll go through, see what versions of your libraries you have down here that are defined and what's available, and we'll give you a warning. So 136 is the latest version of Auto. Let's set it to 135 so it'll complain. And then what was the command to run? Run this guy from your command line.
Does that work for any Gradle projects or is that
Any Gradle project. Nothing that you can do in Eclipse or AMP.
At least dependencies, I think that's really cool too. If you have a complex project that you don't even know what all your dependencies are, give you a nice tree.
Yep. I don't think it likes the Wi-Fi right now. Okay, so Wi-Fi is dead. That's why that's not working.
Who's downloading Gradle?
I'm back.
So this will run, so we give you a report saying here's all things that are out of date.
Done.
Oh, perfect. Following dependencies using the latest version. Failed to determine the latest version for the following dependencies. I don't know why it failed to do that, but yeah, try timed out.
Do you prefer this compared to the tree?
Do it.
Reports that Gradle has, do you prefer this plugin compared to what Gradle has? So it has a tree and it tells you conflicts and stuff.
Well, this is a different purpose.
Yeah, this is a different purpose. This will just tell you which libraries you have included that are now out of date. The thing that Alex just mentioned, if you do Gradle W app, let's see if this works. If you're trying to figure out why some library gets pulled in or where it's coming from, this will give you a nice report for that. So my paid release application builds that are hard to troubleshoot because you don't know what got included and why. So this, I want to have complain that I'm trying to do it. Let's do so I don't want to allow that type of stuff in my application. So I've got a little snippet that I put into this thing. This is another Jake Wharton code snippet that'll add in a certain behavior when it's resolving dependencies, and if the dependency has a wildcard in it, it'll fail to build. And in this case, that's what it did. It said wildcard dependency forbidden on auto. It'll force you to declare a specific version. The two third-party tools that I use, Crashlytics and Relic, all their documentation, says, "Oh yeah, just use the latest point release." That's caused issues on multiple occasions, and you can't really effectively go back and forth with their support team saying, "Hey, this is the behavior I'm seeing on this version." Just always resolve it to a specific version. So between this failing wildcard builds and the other script to basically tell you what's out of date, you should be in a good place to manage all of your dependencies. Any questions so far?
I had a question when you were referencing TMD and CPD. Do you have to run two different ones to get CPD and TMD?
You can run them, the Gradle tasks, in the same command. You can do find those app TMD, CPD.
So, but it's CPD is outside of.
Yep. Yep. They're all different plugins. It's not all puppies and rainbows. Gradle introduced a new Android library packaging format, think like a jar file for Android libraries, called Android Application Resources Repository. I'm not sure what it stands for. Because Maven had existed for several years before that, they had their own format called APKlib. These two are not interchangeable, and there's still lots of third-party projects out there that publish their stuff as APKlibs and haven't migrated over. When I run into this, I'll just usually fork the project or create a local copy of it, move things all the right places, and include it as a submodule in the settings file. A pain in the ass to do that, but that's what you have to do.
Then do a pull request.
And
then do a pull request.
I've done that 3 times now, and no one ever responded, so
Oh, yeah.
I gave up.
Good project.
And find a new dependency. And find a new dependency.
In most cases, I did, yeah. The tooling errors that comes out of the plugin, and even in Android Studio, can sometimes be really, really cryptic and hard to figure out. And the follow-up to that is that the Stack Overflow, solutions out there are either outdated because they reference an old plugin version that behavior has changed, or the last 2 months haven't caught up with what people are running into. Both of those are going to get better with time, but that's what you're going to run into right now. So we're slide 46, 48, and I've been talking for an hour. I didn't go into much talk or much detail on how you set up multi-project configurations or Android library projects, or how you might tie this into a CI server and build numbers and things like that. Dealing with awkward third-party libraries that don't publish their stuff like a Maven repository is a pain. And there's a bunch of other cool stuff you can do. But there's lots of other projects or lots of other people out there that have this stuff. So when you start browsing Gradle files, if you see something interesting, share it with everyone. Include it in your app. I've got a bunch of useful links. Gradle documentation, Android Studio documentation, plugin documentation. There was a recent video where one of the Gradle engineers and one of the Android plugin engineers, gave a talk on basically everything we talked about here tonight. It's interesting to watch. These two files I thought were, the first one is kind of an interesting, pretty full-featured Gradle configuration. Take a look at it and see kind of what some of the stuff they're doing. If you want to see kind of like how you might go about doing some more advanced configurations on your Wi-Fi projects, this is another example. Any questions?
So, maybe there's architecture in the projects.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that we so that we like service for maps or something?
No. So the maven archetypes are kind of a way to bootstrap a project with a certain configuration and defaults pretty quickly. One of the frustrating things about Gradle is they give you all of the power to build the project however you want, but then you have to build the project however you want. So there's no default templates to work off of. For Android, create a blank project and start going into details. The Java, if you're just doing a plain Java module, getting that up and running is minimal effort. But no architects. Any questions?
You had any luck using Gradle for plain old Java projects, like server projects, or any other
As in,
projects? So you have a unified build system for everything?
I haven't had a need for it yet.
Okay.
You started doing some stuff with that with your Google Cloud backend, right? Or am I thinking of something completely different and had too much beer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not me.
Okay. So you can do it. One of the fancy things you can do in Android Studio is there used to be an option in here to basically say create a Google Cloud backend for my application, and it'll create that as a different module.
Oh yeah, you and I were talking about that.
I'm not seeing it in the list right now.
It's under tools, and then you right click on your app and you do add backend.
I'm not seeing it though.
Did you have to sign in? You have to sign in, top right. I don't remember where's that, Patrick. There is a menu option that allows you to just say add a backend.
It'll create a module with all that content for you.
But if it's not specifically Google backend stuff, you probably just want to use like IntelliJ forever to deal with all that stuff, I'm assuming.
Well, this is on top of IntelliJ, so you're getting all that with it. Comes with it.
Is there a
On
like
tools, the tools is just tasks and context we can have a server.
Under tools, you said?
Yeah, tasks and context. Server.
Yeah, there's a different one that actually says add my Google backend. That'll add one.
There's the services.
I think that's for something else.
you run unit tests from Android Studio yet?
Experimental within the last week or two.
Does it work?
I haven't tried it yet.
Okay.
It doesn't work. I haven't had a chance yet.
Because like IntelliJ has that stuff.
Yeah, the Android, I caught myself earlier when I was talking about the unit testing project. Yes, I haven't had a chance to try it yet.
Okay.
But you should be able to pick this and go to unit tests and have magic happens.
Is this 1.1?
Yes.
All right.
But I think you saw something pop up over here saying, hey, this is an experimental feature. So, again, the presentation is up on GitHub, the sample code, all this stuff is up on GitHub too. You go out there and browse it all down, play with it, break it.
God damn, stop.
Any other
What are you
questions?
doing?
Where's the
What's
GitHub.com?
Oh,
Yeah, QR code for it.
I probably do.
what?
You invite QR code Patrick.
Yeah, okay. I don't have to care one guy's down, but yes.
So what?
You guys ever want to see some really cool stuff?
It's too late. Well,
You got it.
Cameo.
I think you might find some of my groups there.
So the people who are using Gradle in production right now, what lessons did you learn? Did you go through that we might not have talked about here?
Define
The last APK you released was built using Gradle.
Mainly the migration was the issue because everyone has to be out of the code.
Yeah.
No, it's a pain in the ass.
Luckily, I didn't have to do that part.
Yep.
Does
So,
Adam.
Yep. Adam did that. But
That's why you left.
overall, it's actually been
Push him over the edge.
pretty good. We were able to upgrade some libraries that we hadn't touched in years. In fact, they didn't even have Maven equivalents for the versions we were using. So it was really nice to have all that done for us. Some of the issues have been setting up. I had some issues with ProGuard. I had some issues with, I know you ran into issues with PND and stuff.
EMD wasn't so bad. Jacoco
Yeah,
out of the
unit
box
testing.
was pretty annoying. You have to run the connected unit test first, and you have to run the